So what do they want? What do they want me to do?
You want me to stay out for 2 years. What? I'll tell you what I can offer you. So the ask I got today from back east was, it has to stay between us. Is there any companies out there or something that could just put her on the payroll and give her, to keep her out? And I said, well, what are you willing to do? Whatever we need to do. Just to say, is there a number at which
I can be bought?
not be bought?
That's what it's about.
You can take a pause for a couple of years.
No.
And then go right back to what you're doing.
No.
The Kari Lake bribery tape.
Mr. Reagan.
So the other day, Kari Lake released an audio recording of the Arizona GOP chairman Jeff DeWitt offering her a bribe. Now this was a bribe that was being offered to her on behalf of some anonymous they. And from what it sounded like, this mysterious they are Republicans. So in this case, we're not talking about evil leftists, we're talking about evil, corrupt rhinos. And of course, those of us who actually care about America, we hate the corrupt rhinos even more than we hate the corrupt Democrats. And so look, I'm going to react to this recording in a way perhaps you might not expect, because I think this is awesome. Of course, it's terrible, but we all know that DC is corrupt. We all know that bribes are offered and taken and that folks in power are often blackmailed, but we never quite get to know who is doing the blackmailing, who is offering the bribes. Occasionally we catch a glimpse of truth, but these are just fleeting glimpses, just teasing our sense of justice. We never get to satisfy that sense of justice, not fully, not even by half, because no one ever goes to prison. Okay, Jeffrey Epstein went to prison. Okay, but none of his clients did. No one has faced any serious consequences for what happened on that island. And no one seems to face consequences for any crimes or any kind of corruption in DC. We have rock solid evidence of Joe Biden's corruption, and he's still president. Senator Bob Menendez has actually been indicted in an open and shut bribery case, and he's still a working senator. Like, how does that happen? Well, it's because he's confident that his buddies in the deep state will keep him out of prison. But it's all good when you're above the law. But now we have an actual audio recording of a bribe being offered to a high-profile politician. This could be a very powerful thing. It depends on whether anyone in DC has the testicular fortitude to actually follow where this trail leads. And following this trail would be a relatively straightforward task. And the benefits would be enormous. It would mean cutting a huge chunk out of DC corruption, taking a chunk out of the deep state. And how do we do this? Well, I'll explain my thoughts on it in one moment. First, of course, I have to sell you something. If you're trying to navigate market turbulence, why not set course to the Noble Gold Investments safe haven? With global uncertainty looming, your savings and retirement plans are under siege. But there's one asset that has stood the test of time: gold. Unlock the peace of mind that comes with owning gold, the ultimate safe haven. And if precious metals are new to you, Noble Gold Investments will hold your hand through the whole process. They have a team of experts who will guide you every step of the way. Thousands of investors have sheltered their retirement savings with Noble Gold Investments. Don't leave yourself exposed to the markets right now. It's way too risky. With gold at an all-time high and looking to climb further, it's the perfect time. Open a Noble Gold Investments IRA and secure your future with a free gold bullion coin. Act now before it's too late. Call 877-646-5347 and claim your free coin before it's gone. Or visit noblegoldinvestments.com right now. noblegoldinvestments.com, the only gold company I trust.
So what's going on? Who is it? What?
Forget the who. Let me just tell you the what. I just say there are people calling around saying, gosh, no, they can't repeat this. Never repeat this. If you say no, don't. If you say, I got offered to buy out. Don't use it. Because then we lose our ability to get things done in the future.
Here's my problem. Rather than just say, let's work with her, she's a great candidate, because they don't own me, and it pisses me off.
Yeah, I don't know, it's about ownership.
It's about control.
I don't know if it's about control. It's about being on the team. I guess that's, you know what I mean?
They want to be on the team.
They want you to be on their team.
But
Just team. You know?
But if they're pushing a globalist agenda, I can't do that. So what do they want? What do they want me to do?
You want me to stay out for 2 years. But, I'm going to tell you what I can offer you. But, I said, you can do whatever you want. It's talking head, this and that. So, the ask of me was, it's kind of funny. So, the ask I got today from back east was, it has to stay between us. Is there any companies out there or something that could just put her on the payroll and give her, to keep her out? And I said, well, what are you willing to do? Whatever we need to do.
This is about defeating Trump. And I think that's a bad, bad thing for our country. DeSantis is not America first. This is about the final death blow to Trump. And I don't think that's good for our country.
And you know I love Trump. I love Trump.
It's not good for our country, Jeff.
It's not, but at the same time, I'm not even sure Trump can win again. I don't know that he can win again. I think what it really comes down to for a lot of people, it's not really about like control or agenda. It's just about the ability to raise money to win. You know, if you really want to know, all of politics boils down to money. I think. I always believe that. And even on their end, like what makes them the most money?
I know. All these consultants don't want their payday to end. And I don't want to make a deal with these kind of people. This is a hill worth dying on. I'm not, if they're going to steal the election to make me and our movement go away, I'm not letting them do that. I owe it to the people of Arizona.
Or
to carry their torch and their voice.
Or you don't go away, but you pause.
This is the battles right now, Jeff.
You pause, and you fill your coffers.
No, the battle is right now. The battle is right now, and we don't have time to pause on this battlefield.
You're not. You can't scratch their back. It's not afraid of you.
Yeah.
You don't have anything to offer them, and they're sitting around people that have something to offer them. You know what I mean? It's just it's a back scratching club. That's all DC is. It's a big back scratching club. You're in no position to scratch anybody's back, and you've already made it known that if you get there, you're not going to scratch anybody's back. I don't scratch people's back. You know, I've been on the outs with a lot of people for a long time because I don't scratch backs. You know, where are we in 2 years if they steal the election again?
Listen to what you're saying. Why don't we do something about it? So that we the people can pick our...
What can we do?
I'm not willing to accept that. Then I'm going to be the biggest pain in these people's... Go back and tell them that. I'm running, and I'm going to be the biggest pain in their...
I'm willing to tell them that.
And they're going to have to kill me to stop me.
No, I know. Look. And
you don't have to tell them that, but I don't think they will, but...
Nah, I don't think that's the way they are.
Either they come around and try to work with me, or I'm just...
What would that entail?
That would entail not telling... Layman's telling me, you got to distance yourself from Trump. No, you distance yourself from DeSantis.
He's all butthurt about that.
But what I'm saying is, don't tell people that. I'm with Trump, okay? I want to work for the betterment of Arizona. I'm not going to let these people back in D.C. tell me not to run.
I'm telling you not to run.
I'm not going to pause for 2 years. The battle is now. I'm offended by whoever these people are that they're trying to buy me out of.
Well, you should be honored.
But I'm offended that there's people back there who just don't give about our country.
Do you understand, though? You should be honored. That means they know how powerful you are.
Well, I can tell them that...
If you weren't powerful, they wouldn't want to have this conversation.
Yeah.
Right? You should be... Very few people get this.
I know. I'm pissed that they don't care more about our country. It's all about the mighty dollar to them. And that's offensive.
I don't know. I honestly don't know.
They want to get Trump so bad. They want him out so bad.
It's not about Trump. This isn't about Trump. It's about you. It's not about Trump. It's about you. It's not about Trump. Some people that are on this...
Listen, I can win. Why don't you go back and tell them that I can win, and why don't they get behind me?
I see these things through a different lens. It's very personal to you. This was you. It was your name on the ballot. And I get that. And it's a very personal thing.
Well, I have a appointment coming up, and I have to work on my book.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm not good. I appreciate their concern.
Just to say, Is there a number at which
I can be bought.
not be bought?
That's what it's about.
You can take a pause for a couple of years.
No.
And then go right back to what you're doing.
No. 10 million, 20 million, 30, no. A billion, no. This is not about money. This is about our country. I think it's disturbing that they would even, that anybody would think this is...
No, to be fair, even me, I'll say this. I want a fresh face right now. For the reason that I've never seen anyone, I can't think of a single person in a federal race who's lost, ran in and won. I can't think of it. If you can think of it, let me know.
I am not going to let these people who hate our country tell me not to run. You should call them and tell them to get behind me.
I mean,
I can win, and they should get behind me.
I will happily say those words.
Yeah.
Do you think my words will carry any weight? No.
Okay, well, did you think you would come in here and that I would be bought?
It's not being bought.
Yes, it is.
It
is being bought. No. They are trying to buy me out of running. It's actually, I mean, all right, I'm flattered. I'm offended. I'm offended for our country. We have people like this who live here.
What I think is this, is it can give you an incredible opportunity to have a bigger voice to fight for stuff than you currently do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't want to deal with people like this. These people are un-American, and I think they're unethical, and I would be absolutely immoral if I did that.
Again,
that's immoral. I couldn't look at myself in the mirror if I, you know.
It's very powerful people that are willing to. They really want someone different. They want new names, whatever it is.
So they want Jim Lehman. That's a new name.
No, actually, that's not even. That's a possibility. But they're even asking me like.
I know they've got all these new names, and I'm going to beat each and every one of them. Sorry, Jeff. Take it back. Take it back to them.
Oh.
I got to get working.
I know.
I love you, but I got to get working.
All right, I appreciate it.
I mean, I'm just can't believe this.
Hey, again, be honored. Instead of them just them working to beat you, they're trying to
This is about getting Trump out.
Nah,
yeah, it is.
Trump never came out once.
Well, it's about DeSantis, getting DeSantis in. Getting DeSantis is getting Trump out.
You're reading too deep into it.
Well, let's see what happens. Maybe my case will go through. Maybe they'll do the right thing.
I doubt it. I hope so.
I do too. That's my first goal.
Yeah.
But they can't have me in the governor's office because then we're going to root out some of this corruption.
But again, it's like...
You know what it is? The people don't get to choose their elected officials unless they're pre-approved by the swamp. And the swamp doesn't pre-approve of me.
You need a strong party to help.
I think you should go public with this and then say, hey,
no.
These people don't want to, they don't want, they're...
And then I turn my key in my car and I go...
No.
I like my car.
Tell them I'm not flattered. I'm offended that they...
Don't tell anybody we had this conversation.
I'm offended that they don't care about our country more.
I actually wish you'd just give me a counter offer that's big. Give me a counter.
I can't be bought.
Come on.
I can't.
All right, I'll do it.
Okay, bye-bye.
So we've got this guy, Jeff DeWitt. And Jeff DeWitt is connected to somebody back in D.C. that has presented him with a plan to keep Kari Lake, for whatever reason, out of politics. Probably, as she indicates in the audio recording, because they don't control her. And whoever this person is, well, they're certainly being controlled by someone themselves. And maybe the controllers are also being controlled, and so on and so forth. But you start with the link in the chain that you have access to. And that link knows something. And that link can connect you with the next link, and the next, and all the way down the line until you break every link in that chain to get to the end of it. And so what needs to happen? It's pretty simple. The honest members of Congress need to investigate. They hold a hearing, put this guy under oath, and they grill him. I mean, hell, I'm not against shipping this guy off to a beautiful exotic resort that they might call a black site and giving him the full day spa treatment. But maybe the honest DC players, maybe they don't have the stomach for that, so they'll have to be a bit more creative. Maybe put him in a room with a world-class interrogator like my good friend Sebastian Gorka. But however they do it, they find out who this guy's contact is, and then they move their way down the chain. I wholeheartedly believe that this can be done. The only question is, are there enough honest members of Congress to get the job done? The problem, of course, is that we don't know how many people in DC are compromised. I made a great video about this a couple of years back, but it was, of course, deleted by YouTube. And that censorship convinced me that, of course, I was right. Basically, my theory was that DC is really a house of cards. I called it mutually assured destruction. That is, I speculated that it was possible that there was a system of blackmail that controlled most people in DC. Basically, if you want to be in the club, you have to take a bribe or involve yourself in some kind of criminal scheme. Now, I think sometimes this is done with the full knowledge of the people that, you're involving yourself with, those offering the bribe or conspiring with you to commit the crime. Those who accept these offers, they go in knowing that these people will control them after this. But by aligning themselves with these people, it opens up a world of opportunities. And so they take the bribes. And so they go to Epstein Island. And so they take the kickbacks or whatever it is. And then as long as they keep their mouths shut, as long as they continue to play ball, they are set for life. They get to enjoy the opportunities for political advancement, more power, and they get to enjoy new schemes, bribes, and kickbacks, more wealth. And if they turn against that system, if they turn against the House of Cards, if they turn against the deep state, well, they're then destroyed. And I think a lot of these people who jump into this game, join this club, they're not completely powerless. I think most of the people involved in this, they have some degree of power. And that's why it's a house of cards, right? Because if one person has dirt on the next, and he has dirt on the next, and he has dirt on the next, and it goes all the way around full circle to the first guy, well, then if this guy goes down, the whole house of cards falls, right? That's why we call it mutually assured destruction. That's why we call it a house of cards. And I think this is right. I think this is true. Obviously, some people have more power than others. The more people you have dirt on, the more powerful you are. And the less people you have dirt on, the more controlled you become. And now this guy, Jeff DeWitt, he messed up big time. And right now, I think he's in a lot of danger. Because now we all know that he's connected to the deep state. And the deep state knows that we know that he's connected to the deep state. And so Jeff DeWitt, well, he's got to disappear. And so we actually need to protect this guy. He needs to go into some kind of protective custody immediately. Unfortunately, I'm not sure how to do that, given that the FBI are also involved in this corruption. And they're the ones who would be hiding him. So I feel like this guy, I feel like he doesn't have that much time left on this planet. Anyway, he quit his job as chairman of the Arizona GOP naturally, and he actually wrote a lengthy defense of everything that he said in the Kari Lake recording. This so-called defense amounted to the following points. One, that this was a private conversation, and two, that he was trying to do what was best. But this brings me to a question that has bothered me for some time. Why are politicians and the super rich willing to be so damn corrupt? I mean, I get that they like playing God, manipulating people, and having more money than others, but it seems like if you're already rich and you're already powerful, why do you really need to be this corrupt? I feel like the motivation is sometimes completely irrational. The risk of being caught and indicted and sentenced to incarceration, it all just seems like the potential benefits can't possibly outweigh the risks. So why do these people do it? Well, I think I figured it out. At one point in my travels, I happened to be seated next to a couple of gentlemen in a cafe in Indonesia. This was a Frenchman and a Persian gentleman, both in their 50s. Now, these men had, over the years, worked with some very rich and powerful people. And one thing that these gentlemen told me was, to me, a bit of a revelation. They said that some of these very wealthy, very powerful people, they like to commit crimes. And it's not because they need to commit crimes. The benefits that they get from this are irrelevant. It's because they are literally above the law. And being above the law, well, that indicates a level of status that no Picasso painting, no Patek Philippe watch, no Gucci bag could ever match. They do it for the status. And for some people, status is everything. It's ironic because this is exactly what Nancy Pelosi claims about Donald Trump all the time.
The president must be held accountable. No one is above the law.
No one is above the law, not even the president of the United States.
No one is above the law. No one is above the law. And this is about the facts and the law. No one is above it.
And Nancy Pelosi's father, the former mayor of Baltimore, Thomas D'Alessandro Jr., he was the quintessential corrupt politician, taking bribes and never being prosecuted for it, even though those who bribed him were prosecuted. They were convicted, they were imprisoned. But D'Alessandro, the corrupt politician, the career criminal, he was simply ignored. Why? Because he was above the law. Pelosi's son, Paul, has also been involved with at least 5 companies that have been investigated by the FBI. There have been many arrests, convictions, prison sentences, but never for Paul Pelosi. Why? Because he's above the law. And Pelosi herself has famously been involved in several insider trading deals, and she has manipulated congressional proceedings for the benefit of companies and ultimately for herself at the expense of the American people, all because, of course, she is above the law. I made a detailed video about the Pelosi crime family if you want to check that out. It's a pretty dang good video. Of course, it was demonetized by YouTube because it's just too good of a video. And look, I always say that if you want to know what crimes Democrats are committing, just listen to what they're accusing Republicans of. In the case of Nancy Pelosi, her criminality is certainly in part motivated by financial gain. Pelosi is not quite rich enough for that not to be a consideration. But for many, the criminality has less to do with money and more to do with what being above the law signifies. You see, wealthy people need a way to distinguish themselves from ordinary people. As I suggested a moment ago, rich people used to do this by buying the best brands. And okay, sometimes that still happens to some degree. But these days, if you walk into a Gucci store in Beverly Hills, it's not filled with super rich Europeans. It's full of middle-class folks. Black people, white people, Asians, Muslims from the Middle East. There's no distinguishing characteristic of these people other than they have enough money to buy something from a Gucci store, which these days is not prohibitively expensive. So for very, very rich people, buying the right brands is no longer an effective way to distinguish themselves from the riffraff. And sure, there are a few luxury items that are indeed prohibitively expensive. They can buy a private jet or a super yacht. But to really distinguish one's self from the masses, and even to distinguish the rich from the super rich, there are now other ways. And one way is simply to break the law. And this is why we know that Biden and Pelosi and many other rich people are corrupt. Because they're openly corrupt. If people don't know that they're committing crimes and getting away with it, well, then the status associated with being above the law would not be conferred upon them. And so they don't just commit crimes, they commit crimes and then they brag about it.
I went over for, I guess, the 12th, 13th time to Kyiv, and I was supposed to announce that there was another $1 billion loan guarantee. And I had gotten a commitment from Poroshenko and from Yatsenyuk that they would take action against the state prosecutor, and they didn't. So they said they were walking out to press conference. I said, no, I said, I'm not going to, we're not going to give you the $1 billion. They said, you have no authority. You're not the president. The president said. I said, call him. I said, I'm telling you, you're not getting the $1 billion. I said, you're not getting the $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here. And I think it was, 6 hours? I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Well, son of a bitch. Got fired.
This is why whenever you see Epstein on video, he looks so insufferably smug. Because he was absolutely convinced that he was untouchable. He was above the law. But in his case, he wasn't quite far enough above the law, and his crimes caught up with him. And of course, as we all know, those who he had dirt on, they needed him gone. Because above the law status does of course require methods by which one remains above the law. And that includes eliminating anyone who might incriminate you. And so of course, Epstein had to go. But that conversation that I had with those 2 guys in Indonesia, that was a real revelation for me. The idea that some very rich people, some very powerful people, they like to broadcast their own criminality and corruption in order to signal their status as being above the law. That is a fascinating proposition, and more importantly, it makes a lot of sense. It supplies us with a motivation for a lot of the corruption that we see that otherwise doesn't seem to make logical sense. I have sometimes read about instances of corruption that have baffled me. Why would somebody do this? It makes no sense. Well, this motivation answers that question perfectly. And so, is it true? Do some very rich people, some very powerful people, do they commit crimes and act corruptly sometimes just because they can, just to show the world that they are above the law? I think so. It's probably not a lot of people, but I'm convinced that some people are this way. And these people need to control everyone who might incriminate them or expose them or in some way inhibit their criminality. And in the case of Kari Lake, I think that she is the kind of politician who could, if she is as honest and honorable as that recording indicated, who could be that very thorn in the side of these corrupt deep state swamp dwellers. And so it makes sense that they would want Kari Lake pushed out of the way. And obviously that is true. We have a recording to prove it. And so now, in order to take down some of the most corrupt politicians, some of the most powerful criminals in the world, we might be able to start with this one man, Jeff DeWitt. Now, am I hugely optimistic about this potential takedown of the deep state? Not really, no. As I said, I don't think Jeff DeWitt has too much time left on this earth. But I do hold out some modicum of hope. After all, I am an optimist. Well, that's it for me. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. And remember, it's not that all liberal friends are ignorant. It's just that they know so much that is not so. Good night.
We're at war with the most dangerous enemy that has ever faced mankind in his long climb from the swamp to the stars. And it's been said if we lose that war, and in so doing lose this way of freedom of ours, history will record with the greatest astonishment that those who had the most to lose did the least to prevent its happening. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand.